Yo, what is going on, guys? It's your boy LastChanceFPS, or you call me Chance, and in this video I'm going to be ranking every single perk that is available to pick up and use here in Black Ops 4 Blackout. Throughout this list I'm going to be giving you guys some tips and pointers and why I believe you guys should be using which different types of perks over other perks. Throughout this list it's going to be my personal opinion. If you guys disagree with me, feel free to comment down below. I'm really curious what you guys think, why you believe one perk might be better than the other, because I have a ton of playtime throughout Black Ops 4 Blackout, and that's part of the reason why I've put certain perks ahead of others, because I feel like one is better than the other for a grand scheme of things. Yeah, guys, without further ado, let's hop into this list. So at the last place, or the number 14 spot on my list, I have Squad Link. Now the description for Squad Link reads: to see teammates through walls. It has a 2-second basically activation time, and it also lasts for 120 seconds. So the reason I have Squad Link last is because, one, it's only available in duos and squads, obviously, because this is kind of a useless perk in solos. And also, I just feel like it's kind of useless in the grand scheme of things, because it can be nice to like see people, like teammates, through walls and just have a better idea of where your teammates are located. But honestly, if you think about it, if you're in a good like squad, let's say, you guys should already have good communication. So I really don't see why necessarily seeing your teammates through walls is that beneficiary, because there are so many other perks, like I'm going to mention earlier on this list, that I just feel like are overall more useful to use and not take up an inventory slot, which is very important in Black Ops 4 Blackout. So that's why I have Squad Link at the number 14 spot. At the number 13 spot, I have Outlander. Now Outlander, for the description, reads: to reduces damage taken from the collapse and increases movement speed outside of the collapse. So honestly, basing off of this, with also having a 2-second activation time and it lasting for 180 seconds, this is a very situational perk. Because honestly, if you think about it, if you're in, like, let's say you land somewhere on the map and the zone is really far away, you should be planning ahead and trying to move out sooner than later. Because if you basically sit back and you put yourself in a bad situation to basically take a lot of storm damage, and you basically have to rely on a perk to like negate that, I just feel like, again, you're wasting more inventory slot. You're probably better off just trying to find like a vehicle or a helicopter or something to move around faster than using this perk. But that's why I have it here at the number 13 spot. Coming in at the number 12 spot, I have Medic, and the description for this perk reads: to heal faster and revive faster. Also, healing items restore more health. Downed enemies are revived with increased health. So it has a 2-second use time, and it also has a duration of 240 seconds. So right off the rip, you guys will notice that it does have a longer duration time, which does help a little bit. But honestly, this is again a very situational perk, because healing faster is great, and if you guys are playing duos or squads, being able to revive your teammates will potentially save their lives. Besides healing faster, I just really don't see why this is better than some of the perks I'm going to have in front of this list. And again, mostly for me, I play solo, so I don't really have to deal with teammates that often. But when I have had to play like duos or squads, I just feel like the other perks earlier on this list are just overall more useful in more situations than not. So honestly, Medic can be useful in some situations before like some of the perks I mentioned earlier in this list. But yeah, that's why I have it here at the number 12 spot. Coming in at the number 11 spot, I have Iron Lungs, and the description for this perk reads: to increased breath hold time on sniper rifles and tactical rifles, and also has an increased breath hold time underwater. Has a 2-second use time and has a 300-second duration. So right off the rip, you guys will notice it has a longer duration like the previous perks. That is great. That helps your case way more than some of the other perks I mentioned. But honestly, I feel like the biggest thing with this perk is that if you're not using a sniper or tactical rifle in game, which I mean, I do use a fair amount, but if you're not using that weapon, then this perk is basically useless. I just really don't use like the Paladin as much, because it's more of like a rare gun. I feel like some of the better tactical rifles have been nerfed and aren't as useful. So I just feel like Iron Lungs is kind of just like put in a really bad situation, where unless you basically have a Paladin, which in my opinion is the best weapon out of these two weapon categories, this perk is basically useless. And that's what I find myself in a lot of times. And I just feel like there's other perks that are just better in more situations, like I've mentioned time and time again. And that's why I have Iron Lungs here at the number 11 spot. At the number 10 spot, I have Consumer, and the description for this perk reads: to reduces use time of health and consumable items by 50%, 2-second use time, as well as it has a 300-second duration time. So basically why I have Consumable at the number 10 spot is I just feel like it's a better overall, more useful perk than Medic, because it doesn't allow you to just use heals faster, but it also allows you to basically use any type of consumable items 50%. So it also applies for like using perks faster and things like that. And I just feel like it basically makes medic look like a poor man's consumer. So I just feel like consumer is helpful in some situations. I find myself using consumer like, let's say, really early game when I first land, but consumer does help early game. So that's why I have it here at the number 10 spot. Coming in at the number 9 spot, I have looter. Now looter, for the description, reads to reveals nearby stashes and loot items, has a 2-second use time as well as a 120-second duration time. Now first off, right off the rip, it does only have a 2-minute duration time, so it's really short compared to some other perks. But the reason why I have this perk at this spot on my list is it's really helpful early game, because what I've noticed is that if you land in like a pretty big sized area and there's not really that many players, so you actually have time to give yourself to basically go around and get the best loot as possible. I feel like looter really helps in that situation because it allows you to spot better loot faster, and sometimes you can get to that loot faster and quicker before other enemies, and that will put you automatically in a better situation to go on to win that gunfight. But that's why I have looter here at the number 9 spot. Coming in at the number 8 spot, I have the newly buffed brawler, and the description for this perk reads to increased melee damage, gain 50 health per each successful melee attack, 2-second use time as well as a 240-second duration time. Now the reason I have brawler here at this spot because they actually recently buffed it, I believe in the most recent patch. Now what it allows you to do is if you use your butt or your gun, not just your fist, because I think with your fist you don't deal as much damage compared to if you actually have a weapon in your hand when you deal a melee attack. But what it allows you to do is that if your opponent has level 3 armor and 200 health, so basically max health, you can one hit using brawler. It's absolutely insane. Honestly, besides that, brawler isn't really that useful because in BR you want to use ranged weapons most of the time because it's like open fields and whatnot. But if like, let's say you land right off the rip and you find brawler and you're like buildings and whatnot, this perk is really dangerous, and don't even try to like out melee them because they will destroy you every single time. But that's why I have brawler here at the number 8 spot. Coming in at the number 7 spot, I have engineer, and the description for this perk reads to reveals nearby vehicles and enemy equipment, 2-second use time as well as a 240-second duration time. Now the reason I have engineer here on this spot on my list is because I feel like it's way more beneficial to know where nearby equipment is. I feel like people have been starting to catch on to the fact that they like trip mines and stuff like that and really tactical positions and whatnot to try to catch you off guard, and also seeing nearby enemy like trucks and ATVs also help in different situations. But I feel like knowing where enemy equipment is really beneficial with this perk. But engineer overall is just a really helpful perk because equipment in this game is really important, and good players will know how to use equipment the most efficiently. So basically having engineer kind of counters them using equipment in a sense, and that's why I have engineer here at the number 7 spot. Coming up next at the number 6 spot, I have mobility, and the description for this perk reads to move and swap items faster, take no fall damage, fire weapons, and use equipment while sprinting, move faster while reloading, has a 2-second use time as well as a 300-second duration time. So that was actually a pretty long list. Mobility has a lot of different uses. I would say my biggest thing with this perk that I like is that it allows you to move faster, because I feel like in some situations, like let's say you land, you get like 4 or 5 kills and then you got to actually go quite a ways. If you guys can't find a vehicle but you do have mobility, that will help in a lot of situations to get there as fast as possible. And I've even had some times where I've used mobility just in the sense to get around the map faster, to find more people quicker, to allow myself to get the highest kill gameplay that I possibly can. It helps in a lot of situations. The other things like using equipment while sprinting and also reloading faster and swapping weapons, that's all pros that definitely will help you as well. So I feel like mobility is an overall really helpful perk to use, and if you find this perk early game, it's definitely going to help you more times than not, and that's why I have it here at the number 6 spot. Coming into our top 5 list, and here at the number 5 spot, I have Skulker, and the description for this perk reads to move faster while crouched and prone, has a 2-second use time as well as a 180-second duration. Now Skulker, in my opinion, is actually really underrated. Basically, Skulker allows you to move around freely at a decent speed because it also allows you to move faster while crouched. I really don't use it too often when I'm prone, so Skulker is really helpful mid to late game. I definitely save this perk when I can, but Skulker, again, in its own right, is really useful, and that's why I have it here at the number 5 spot. Coming in at the number 4 spot, I have Reinforced, and the description for this perk reads to reduced damage from explosives and fire, increase resistance to flashbangs, concussions, and razor wire, has a 2-second use time as well as a 240-second duration. Now Reinforced, in my opinion, out of all these perks on the list, is the most underrated perk in the entire game. more people should be using reinforced in my opinion. I find myself a lot of the time when I'm going up against players, they never have reinforced, and like I mentioned on this list, allows you to basically go up against anyone that uses like Molotovs or like any type of grenades or concussions or razor rods, basically anything like that. This will counter that. And my biggest thing with this perk and why I have been using it a ton lately and why I believe you guys should be using it as well is because of the resistance to flashbangs. You guys have no idea how much I die top 10, top 5 to someone camping in a spot. They see me, they concuss me, and concussions are in their own right, in my opinion, one of the best equipment in the game by far. It basically makes you completely helpless. You can't do anything, but when they stun you, you're a free kill. But if you have reinforced on, that will save your life. More people should be using reinforced, and that's why I've been picking it up and using it a ton lately. That's why I believe it's the most underrated perk in the game in my opinion, and that's why I have it here at the number 4 spot. Rounding up our top 3 on my list and coming in at the number 3rd spot, I have Paranoia. And the description for perk reads: to receive a directional audible alert when targeted by an enemy, has a 2-second use time as well as a 240-second duration. Now, honestly, you could kind of swap this and reinforced in my opinion for like the top 3, top 4, but Paranoia is extremely useful because I found myself, since this map for Blackout is on the bigger side, if an enemy has like, let's say you scoped in with like a sniper or a tactical rifle, or even like an AR at medium range, even that half second before they start shooting you when they first initially start to aim at you, that could give you time to put yourself in a better situation and not just throw off their aim, but also put cover between you and your enemy. I just feel like Paranoia, in more cases than not, basically gives you like a sixth sense kind of vibe. And also what I've noticed is that Paranoia is really common out of like the first kind of like top 5 perks that I have on this list. It's a really common perk, so you could also stack these perks, and if like, let's say you pop 2 of them at the same time, that is an 8-minute long Paranoia. That's like already like a third, almost half of a Blackout match. So basically having a sixth sense for a third of the match is gonna save your life. I just want to hammer in the point that Paranoia is a great perk to have. You guys should definitely prioritize to keep this perk out of most of the perks that I've mentioned earlier on this list, and that's why I have it again at the number 3rd spot. Now, coming in at our top 2 perks and rounding up to the 2nd place here on my list, I have Awareness. And the description for this perk reads: to enemy footsteps are louder, has a 2-second use time as well as a 120-second duration. Now, even though it only has a 2-minute duration, Awareness, especially for someone that has a headset, let alone a good headset, this perk is god tier. And I'm going to mention earlier why I think this is really good paired with the number 1 spot. But honestly, the only knock with this perk is that it does only have a 2-minute duration time, and it is kind of an uncommon perk compared to some of the other ones I've mentioned earlier on this list. But if you have a really good headset and you keep Awareness late game, you're set, bro. Like, you will win that game unless something unfortunate happens, because basically I feel like not a lot of people have or save really good perks late game, but I've had times where I've saved Awareness and I've even stacked 2 awarenesses together late game, and I'm set. I know where everybody is. I'm going to sound whore you, and I'm going to put myself in a position that will guarantee myself that I'm going to have the jump on you and I'm going to take you out. Awareness is just an overall great perk. I don't know how much it does like boost footsteps, but it's really noticeable in my opinion, and that's why I have Awareness here at the number 2 spot. And if you guys couldn't already tell, at the number 1 spot, I have, of course, the one and only Dead Silence. And the description for this perk reads: to move quietly, make less noise while opening stashes, has a 2-second use time as well as a 120-second duration. Just like Awareness, really the only knock on this perk is that it does only have a 2-minute duration time, but basically having completely silent footsteps even while sprinting is amazing. Even if someone has Awareness, I'm pretty sure they still can't hear you. I could be wrong. Like I mentioned earlier, Awareness is pretty an uncommon perk, so basically people being able to counter you with Dead Silence isn't really the most common thing. But like I mentioned, if you pair Dead Silence and Awareness in like the last couple circles when you're like top 3, top 5, oh my god, you are unstoppable. People will have no idea where you are. You can completely sound whore the other last people alive. It's just an overall great perk, and I'm pretty sure Dead Silence, in my opinion, is the best perk. A lot of other people that make lists also agree that Dead Silence is the best perk in the game. And if you have this perk, definitely save it if you can, but if you have to use it at any point to save your life, it's worth it in my opinion. But yeah, guys, that is every single perk that I've ranked here in Black Ops 4 Blackout. Like I mentioned, there are a total of 14 perks. I'm curious to see if Perk actually adds more perks in the future, because I actually do have a couple ideas in the back of my head that I feel like would actually be useful perks to add to the list. So I hope this list kind of helped you guys figure out like which perks you guys should prioritize to like keep in your inventory in certain situations and whatnot. I hope you guys went on to enjoy this video. Apologize again for no webcam. It just makes my life a little bit easier rendering and putting these videos together for you guys. But if you guys did go on to enjoy this video, definitely like, comment, subscribe. All that great stuff is greatly appreciated here on my channel. Click the bell notification so you guys never miss future video. Follow my Twitch and all my social medias that will also be linked down in the description down below. Until next time, I will catch you guys in the next video.